So good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another of our interviews, 10 Minutes With, where we interview different leaders from the wireless, mobile, and digital infrastructure industries. Today, we're joined by Jim Jacobellis from Geoverse, and Jim is the, get this right, VP of Partners and Business Development. My name's Iain Gillott from IGR. We're going to have a quick 10-minute conversation about what Geoverse is up to these days. So Jim, first question, the easy one. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, I think you got my name, Iain, Jim Jacobellis with Geoverse. And primarily I manage and develop relationships with Geoverse partners. And, Geoverse is very focused on, CBRS band. So I'm primarily working with kind of a cross-section of partners. A lot of them are coming from the in-building cellular integrator world. Others are coming from, I don't even know how to describe it, but companies that focus on like being a service provider for the enterprise, for PBX stuff, for kind of wireless LAN and wireless LAN services. And then a whole cross-section of technology consultants that come from a potpourri of places. So that's kind of like our top three partner alignment at this point.
Okay, so within that ecosystem then, where does Geoverse fit? So what are you providing that the partners are then adding on top to, or other partners are coming in with a different part of the solution?
Gotcha. So Geoverse, when our direct sales organization tries to sell something to an enterprise, we're offering kind of complete in-building and campus-wide cellular connectivity for that enterprise. Just think of DAS and CBRS together. That's the easiest thing to do. A lot of our partners are trying to do the same thing, but they value the fact that we have this network that can enable an enterprise to do more with CBRS. So if you think of it from a value perspective, our value to partners is in our network, our ability to do more with CBRS spectrum. So if there's roaming, if there's VoLTE, with emergency services, we kind of add the value to our partners for them. And then we also are very reciprocal in that relationship. So when we get a deal, we don't have an integration side, we don't have a carrier coordination side. We don't have the ability to do a design. So we use those same partners to do all that for us.
Okay. So what's your typical customer type then? How do you, as Geoverse, engage with them?
Yeah, so we had pretty much been on a roll. And, I'd say our top four verticals, if you want to look at it that way, are hospitality, the industrial sector. And a lot of people like to think, oh, industrial is just IoT, but it's really not. Industrial is more than IoT. And then the other two, I'd say, are healthcare and retail. And by retail, I don't mean like, a department store per se, but I may mean like a mall or facilitating sales at even in a stadium environment and things like that. So that's kind of my definition of retail.
So you Geoverse will go out to, let's say, a healthcare provider, you'll talk with them directly and then bring the other partners in as required to get the solution deployed?
Right, or it could be vice versa, or it could be a partner is talking to those, verticals. And I think I mentioned those four verticals because the light bulb has gone on there for what CBRS can do for them more than any other four verticals. And if you think about retail, and you think about, a use case being mobile point of sale, the trend is for people to buy stuff from their seats in a sporting event instead of having to go to a concession stand. If you're in a subsection of seats, you want to have that credit card service, have it brought to you, and mobile point of sale is how you do that. Even in a mall, there's kiosks, there's food trucks. Those transactions are all happening with mobile point of sale. And oftentimes in those environments, the Wi-Fi network is very contentious, is not reliable. And so by using CBRS combined with roaming, because you never know where these mobile point of sale devices are going to be, you have an early use case. In healthcare, Wi-Fi calling has been hit or miss. And so replacing Wi-Fi calling with a VoLTE experience, where instead of using a best effort technology where the same thing is going on, you now have a QoS-based, highly secure way to make your voice calls in that environment. And so those are kind of the early kind of use cases. We also provide a foundation for neutral hosts, meaning when somebody who isn't associated with that particular enterprise or that particular location is able to use their smartphone and tablet in that environment just using CBRS. Now that is very dependent on a critical mass of CBRS enabled handsets. So it's a work in progress, but we're providing the foundation for that, as well as the foundation to be able to migrate that network to 5G for those same enterprises. So that story is resonating both with the enterprise and with our partner base that's growing. And the partner interest is amazing. And I think I like to look at it as you can take two forks right now if you're in a road, if you're messing with CBRS. The one fork is you get what you need from the CBRS Alliance. You do everything by yourself, but you're really just going to be in a bubble, and it's hard to imagine that bubble is ever going to be more than like a bubble, just like a little Wi-Fi network. If you partner with us for some of our resources, that bubble becomes everywhere.
Yeah. So I think you call it network as a service, right? What you've been describing here. So
yeah, that is our kind of our product name for what I just mentioned.
So as you're talking to different partners, customers, how much of how unique do you find that is, or innovative? It's kind of interesting. You mentioned voice over LTE. We started out in cellular with voice. We went all over to data, and now we're back to voice again.
Yeah, that's true. But if you follow, private LTE and CBRS is new in the U.S. But if you go to like where you're from, using the DECT band and other things for private LTE, and before it was called private LTE, might have been called private GSM or private 3G, depending on what technology, has been in existence for quite a long time. And where you see the use cases have evolved around roaming and voice in that DECT band or whatever. It's there's a new one coming out, and that various parts of the world have that, and the big use cases, as simple as they sound, we're voice and roaming, and we're seeing that trend play out here in the U.S. with CBRS as well.
Yeah, good. Okay, last question. I know you and I have been on panels before, and I always ask this question in interviews, the last. What keeps you awake at night from a business perspective? So not not your golf game or the dog next door, but rather what is it that worries you? What is it that worries you that if we don't address it today as an industry, in a couple of years' time is going to come back? We'll look back and go, darn it, we really should have done that in 2020. What would you point to?
Yeah, I got you. And I could answer that in a number of ways, but I'm going to focus on, let's just talk about what's one of the inhibitors for CBRS right now. And just from my perspective, and this isn't, I'm not being the voice of Geoverse or anything like that, but you have guys that are primarily from the IT department who have fallen in love with their Wi-Fi network, and they believe it's the best thing that was ever invented. Theirs is different. No matter what, they're going to focus all their attention on on protecting that Wi-Fi network. So they have become CBRS naysayers. You also have kind of folks with cellular background who have studied the SAS and are providing information to their company that it's very difficult, it's unusable, instead of just looking at SaaS as software that runs in the background. So those two things, I kind of almost think of them as the ministers of anti-CBRS propaganda, if you will, are really kind of, you have to break through that wall right now, and they're all over the place. And a lot of what, they're telling internally their companies is simply not true, but they've been advised by somebody, and so there's this little slowdown happening, I think, in large part because of those two factors going on. But that wall is going to break down, and eventually, you'll have the full herd embrace CBRS.
Yeah. Well, I think you've always got an early adopter, mentality, and then there's a little hump, and then mass adoption, right? So.
Way to put it into a marketing spin.
All right. Well, Jim, thanks very much. Our interview today has been with Jim Jacobellis, who is VP of Partners and Business Development for Geoverse. Jim, thanks very much for the time.
Thanks, and have a good day.
Thanks.